Good morning, Platinum Top 50 friends and community. Happy Tuesday. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Not sure if you plan to celebrate with some margaritas today, but I sure hope so. Hope that's on your agenda. My team was asking me if we could have margaritas at lunch today, to which I replied, just don't tell HR. So it's a good thing we don't have HR over here. So anyways, welcome. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Thank you guys so much for welcoming us into your home this morning. Thank you so much for valuing the content that we are working to bring you. I am so excited about today's program for a number of reasons. Not only just because the material is like on point and super relevant to where we are right now in both our professional worlds and our personal worlds, but also because I have just the utmost respect for Krisstina and have for a lot of years. And so I personally can't wait to hear what wisdom she has to share. Several years ago, probably 8 years ago, she came down to San Antonio to give a presentation in front of about 200 agents at the time. And we received such high marks after that. In any conference I would go to the following years, if I saw that she was on the lineup of speakers, I made sure to earmark that presentation to make sure that I was there. So I'm just super privileged and really excited to welcome her into your homes with us today. As always, you guys know that Platinum Top 50, while we are here to serve our agents in a million different ways, we are underwritten. All the programming, all the work that we bring you is underwritten through amazing business partners that we are really proud to work alongside. And today is no different. So today's program is being brought to you by the fabulous Chesmar Homes, partners of Platinum Top 50 in Austin since day one. So where are my Cinco de Mayo friends from Chesmar Homes? Come on in. So help me welcome Tessa True Air. She's the Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and Carrie Mormon, who, fact check on her email signature, official title is Marketing Extraordinaire. So ladies, do you want to join me and say hi?
Hola, amigos. Hello, friends. Happy Cinco de Mayo. And happy Taco Tuesday. Just want to give a big thank you to Amber and her team for the continued support and all the awesome ideas during these crazy times.
Well,
as many of you know,
go Carrie.
As many of you know, we've been longtime partners of PT50, and we've had the privilege to get to know many of you in person and on a personal level. If we have not gotten the chance to know you, we look forward to being able to get with you after all of this is over. And we can't wait to get you selling some Chesmar homes. So really, we just want to thank y'all for the opportunity to be a part of this.
Well, and I thank y'all for letting me know. Not only is it Cinco de Mayo, but it's Taco Tuesday. And like, wow, how often do those worlds collide? So you guys are a wealth of knowledge. But honestly, Chesmar Homes, you guys have been partners of ours since day one. And what I love most about you is not only the beautiful homes that you build, which that is out there, and so are the testimonials from your clients, but it's the culture that you have in your company. And I've been able to witness it firsthand. And you guys cultivate a wonderful culture that then just percolates out into the sales, into the community, into the agents, into your buyers. So I'm truly privileged, and I thank y'all so much for joining us on kind of this journey together as we go into the virtual world of events and selling until we can see you again in person.
We are ready, and we're honored to be a part of this fantastic webinar. So thank y'all very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Chesmar Homes. And we will hear from two of their great sales counselors later on in the program. The second partner that is bringing today to you is none other than the Hay Legal Group, fee attorney of Independence Title. And joining me is John Hay III and his super cute little pup. So John, can you say a few words?
We're excited to be here in our first year with the PT50 sponsorship. It's an organization, when y'all first brought it to Austin, I was excited to hear about, and the opportunity came available this year, and we're excited for that. Kristina's wisdom, of course, around Austin is somebody I've known for a long time. Her work throughout the years in the real estate industry has been well known, and excited to hear more about it today. You know, one of the things that we've been doing and focusing on throughout this, the COVID pandemic things has been related to enrichment, growth, both in life, but also in our work front with ourselves and with our teammates and with our referral partners. So looking forward to hearing more this morning, and we're all here excited and all ears.
So you have to tell me though, who is this four-legged friend with you? Because we love our four-legged friends.
This is Tizo. She's in the office on the daily basis, so this is not an unusual thing. She isn't a little camera shy, but she's new to streaming like a lot of us. So.
Right. Yeah. She's just getting used to seeing herself on Zoom. I get it.
Right.
Well, hey, she is super cute. And John, I echo what you say. We are super excited for this new partnership that we have formed with the Hay Legal Group, the Attorneys of Independence Title. And I look forward to hearing from you later on in the program. So
thank you very much for having us.
All right. Take care. All right, guys. So a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're rolling into this because this program from Krisstina is usually like an hour and a half, and she's graciously agreed to consolidate it for us. And so we don't want to waste any time. So a little bit of housekeeping, though, that I think is important. At the bottom, you will see a chat bubble. And so feel free to click on that button and have that chat up. It's a way that you can communicate with the panel. You can communicate with all 115 people that are on the webinar. That number keeps growing with every breath I take. And so feel free to communicate through that. It's a nice way to have kind of that back-end conversation. And so that's one important feature. Also, there's a Q&A bubble. And so please, if you have questions as we're going through this, use that Q&A function. That will come to me, and I will make sure that when we go into Q&A at 11 o'clock, that I am able to bring those up for Krisstina. So that's another great feature to use. So, okay, well, without further ado, Krisstina Weiss, as many of you know, but I'm not going to assume, is a real estate mogul. She's a millionaire coach, the creator of several multi-million-dollar businesses, including Good Life Luxury, The Paperless Agent, and most recently, Wealthy Wealthy. She is also an international speaker and award-winning author of the Amazon bestseller, Falling for Money. She's been named to the 100 most influential real estate leaders in the country and has been featured on USA Today, as well as by Apple, Contactually, and Evernote for her creative leadership with emerging technologies. So without further ado, I'm so excited. Krisstina, will you please join me and take it away?
Well, what an honor to be here, and it's super fun to come full circle and be with your tribe. So thank you very much for inviting me in. And I think if you do know me or know my name, my whole background is real estate, and I still am a real estate broker. And I'd say I'd mostly resonate with being a real estate investor these days. And I grew beyond just the real estate industry to teach wealth and wealth creation and wealth building, really mostly through real estate. But I became inspired to teach money and to teach money how to convert like commissions and income into true long-term wealth. Today's talk is timely in the sense that the things have shifted on us a little bit, and we're all in this state of a little bit of uncertainty, wondering what's ahead. We've seen some certain numbers and statistics. Many of us on this call, maybe we're on the call because either we've noticed some changes or we're predicting some changes. So again, thanks for being here. What I want to share with you are things to do and actions. It's an action plan to really prepare us with what I call financial immunity. Many of us are still quarantined. We're doing our social distancing. Things are opening up a little bit in the state of Texas, which for many of us is nice. But again, we don't know how things are going to go. So what I want to share is our actions we can take, things we can do right now to build as much financial immunity, to be as immune to what's called an economic correction. Many of you here were probably like me, and we experienced that correction in real estate in 2008 to kind of 2010. And that was a pretty long correction. I don't like to use the word crisis or pandemic because I think that, that words matter. And if we even use words crisis and pandemic, a lot of times that can put us in a state of fear, anxiety, paralysis. So I just like to use it correction. And when we use the word correction, and I love, the enrichment and growth. It can be in a time to reinvent, enrich our learning, to grow, to maybe tackle new things in our life that we've been putting off because we've been so busy. And I'd like to put money in that category. So anyway, today's talk is all about my favorite subject. My two favorite subjects are money and real estate. So here we go. All right, so the first thing I want to chat with, just to bring up, is what I call money mindset. And what is the mindset right now because mindset takes us everywhere. Mindset's how we think with our mind, but also how we feel. What are those core feelings and emotions that are really driving us right now? And many times in times of correction and uncertainty, what can happen is that fear takes over. And so the fear will be natural and it can come up. But we've been in this time of abundance, really, a lot of house selling, a lot of commissions, a lot of business. And if that's shifting and correcting and changing, our mindset might need to shift with it. And so a metaphor like that I would like to start off with is like we've been in the time, like we've been on the Titanic, we've been sailing across the ocean, we're heading to New York, we have big plans of scale and growth, and we've been in things, and so we're on the ship and we're talking and we're philosophizing, we're self-actualizing, we're having 5-course meals, we're putting on a little extra weight, we're looking at the sunrises and the sunsets, and we're wearing our ball gowns and our tuxedos and we're dancing, and we've been doing that for a while, which is great. And then we're going along in that strategy to hit New York and what life is going to look like when we get to New York. Well, then all of a sudden we hit an iceberg. So the second we hit the iceberg, what that means is that our strategy shifted. That ship is course correcting, meaning it's no longer set to New York. But the strategy shifted from that destination to New York to a different strategy, and that strategy is called a survival strategy. So survival strategy is positioning ourselves to survive the correction until we have more information, until we know what we can expect. Right now, things are changing by the minute. You know, even the information we have today is much different than what we had 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. So more time gives us more information that we can make different choices. So we just want to prepare ourselves and create as much immunity as we can during this time where we don't know what the future looks like, and we really can't predict because too many things are out of our control, and we just can't. I mean, we can give our best guess, but that's about it. So that's the survival strategy. When we're looking at the COVID, for example, we went into that same strategy. We're going along just fine, living our normal course of lives, and all of a sudden to survive, we didn't want to get the COVID. We didn't want to get sick. We're afraid if maybe this thing is deadly. So that first reaction, some of it was imposed and some of it was by choice, and a lot of it's just a combo now. It's like we want to protect ourselves. We want to prepare and protect, prepare and protect. So we prepared by getting water and toilet paper and some extra food. And so all that preparation is, if in the worst case scenario, we couldn't get access to these things, then we wanted to make sure we were prepared, that we had an inventory of things we needed to, quote unquote, survive: food and water and toilet paper. Toilet paper is in there for some reason. So that was one of the first actions most of us took. And we saw the results of that: empty shelves at the grocery store, hard to get things there at first, because we were all like we just wanted to prepare for the worst case scenario, prepare for the unknown. And then we wanted to protect ourselves. And so protection, masks, social distancing, doing whatever we could do to protect ourselves from, hopefully, from getting the virus. But then even if we did, we wanted to be in the best position possible to be able to fight the virus, to be able to last through it, which might have meant taking some supplements, maybe eating better, doing whatever we could do so that our immune system was as immune to possible to either fight it or to conquer it if we were to get the virus. So, and both of my kids got the virus. I mean, and a couple of my staff members. So, I mean, the virus actually made its way into my inner circle. So it's real. Now, with the money, our money is the exact same thing. So financially, we want to take do that same type of behavior. Meaning we have to act, we need to do something to build as much immunity from dying, our business dying, our money dying, if you will, or, to be able to survive as long as we can until we can get back to business and more predictable nature of what that looks like, more of a predictable life. Once we can predict that maybe we're not as afraid of the virus or something, and we can get back to our normal course of living, but we didn't know. So we needed that protection and that preparedness during the time until we had more information. So the mindset going into this is, okay, we were dancing and now it's survival. So in the survival now we can't panic and fear. That means we're just gonna all be fighting to get in those lifeboats. So now it's about being serious. It's about being thoughtful. It's about being planned. It's about thinking, okay, how do I protect my business and my family financially on the financial immunity side? So we're going into more of a serious, a more thoughtful, taking time, stepping back. But it can't be pessimistic, but it can't be overly optimistic either. As small business owners, as realtors, as brokers, we're optimists. We wouldn't be in this business. We wouldn't do well in this business if we weren't optimistic by nature. But now it's not about not being optimistic, but it can't be about waiting. It can't be over optimism. It has to be about reality, being conservative, and just being serious, but being ready for the adventure also. There, that little adventurous spirit that we have right now is important. So it's just going in and just mindfully being thoughtful. What actions can I take? What do I need to do right now to survive and sustain my business and my money over whatever period of time until we're back on solid ground? So that's what we're doing. So we're getting it to the Titanic. It's like, where are the lifeboats? Where are the life vests? Where are the exit doors? How much water do we need to get on the boats? Where are the flares? What actions we're going to take? Who's going to do what? So that's the type of actions we're taking with our business and with our money. So mindset's really the first piece here. And then for mindset, I'm going to share some business terms. I do a lot of business coaching and consulting and financial, the money piece of business coaching and consulting. And so I'm going to use some business terms. Many of you are familiar with these, but first thing, so like in 2008, when the correction happened, some people took action quickly, so they were able to survive that. And the great thing is when you survive, I built a lot of my personal wealth out of that correction because I was able to survive and build, good life and build my business then, even though it was really tight and there were some rice and bean moments for sure, and just watching every dollar to make sure that they could last. And then once we got to shore, that was a great time to build. But there's no building and building those big buildings again, like growth and scale, like a lot of us have been in, unless we get to that next land, until that next destination. But we just don't know what quite the destination is yet. So going into this, it's in January and February of this year, for example, I was in a big growth strategy with my businesses. I'm a big investor, so I have a lot of real estate. I have commercial real estate. I have residential real estate. I have Airbnb. And guess what? That business, my real estate investment business and that brokerage, my tenants quit paying rent. Cash flow changed instantaneously. January and February were banner cash flow months of being in the real estate investor business. And then all of a sudden my Airbnb, my biggest month ever in March in South by Southwest, that money was gone. So it's just like, okay, correction. What do we need to do right now? What do I need to do in order to survive this time when cash flow and money is radically shift, like that rug was pulled right out from underneath? So the first thing, the first term that I want you guys to write down is called burn rate. And again, this is action. This is like you've been dropped in a swamp, and all of a sudden you were in your normal environment. Life was normal and predictable, and your nervous system was just fine because it was normal day-to-day course of business. And all of a sudden you woke up in a swamp, and the swamp is really scary. Imagine you were dropped in, all of a sudden there's spider webs and huge spiders over there, and there's quicksand over there. There's big insects and noise in the back, and you hear what sounds like dangerous animals in front of you. You're going to be overcome and paralyzed for fear because you don't know what to do. How the hell do you get out of this place and out of this swamp? If you don't have a map, if you don't know what to do, you'll just go in circles, and then it becomes very vulnerable and scary and deadly. But the second, if you get a compass and I give you a map, and the map tells you exactly go 100 steps up north, but don't go 101 because there's a quicksand, and then go east and go 10 meters east, and then don't go 11 because there's the spiders. But if there's a whole map for how to get out of it, it's still a little scary, but you know you're going to get out of this. You just have to follow the map and get out. So this is part of the map for how to get out of this swampy time where we're in an environment that is unusual. So the first thing is knowing our numbers. And so there's some numbers you want to know as map points, as those dots, as those pins on the map. So the first one to write down is called burn rate. And the burn rate is, you want these numbers ready at hand. So if I said Amber, what's your burn rate in your business? The goal would be to know that top of hand. My burn rate is 20,000 a month. And the burn rate, what the burn rate is in your business books, is how much cash are you burning on a month-to-month basis. So you want to go back and look at, we're in May now, look at April, look at March, and look at February, and just look in January probably before this even hit. But what's your cash burn in your business, not including paying yourself? Just the burn of the business. So there's an assumption we're going to make here, and the assumption is no income, no revenue, meaning no GCI, no commissions in the business bank account. And many of us as micro business owners, what that means is that our personal income is directly tied to our business income, what we generate in our business. So we're going to assume no revenue, no commissions in our business. We're going to assume no income in our household. That's the first assumption we're going to make as a worst case scenario. That's what we're doing, worst case that we can build from. So as the burn rate, how much cash, not including paying myself, am I burning in my business? So if that were, let's say it were $20,000 a month that you were burning, the first thing to go through is to look at every single line item in your business and ask this very specific question. Is this business expense essential to my business survival? Is this business expense essential to my business survival? And what the goal is with this exercise is to lower your burn as much as possible. Because during times, how we build immunity, financial immunity in times of uncertainty, is we just lower the cash spend. That's why you automatically see a lot of these bigger businesses. They're cash positive. They might have 50 million in the bank and they're still laying a lot of people off. Why? Because that's the natural business thing to do, is you lower the burn rate the second you can't predict revenue. So that's the first thing. Know your old burn rate with the goal of reducing your burn rate to just the essentials of business survival. We need the business to survive. So you just look at that. Now, if I looked at my books in January and February, for example, I had a lot of expenses on my books that were really built for scale and growth and hitting some really big numbers because things have been growing month over month for my business. And so I'd made investments in my business to actually even have that much more growth. Well, now it's like I'm not in a growth strategy. Now I'm going to survive my business strategy. So I need to take all those expenses off my books that aren't attached to survival, that were attached to growth. Again, just to reduce that burn. And there's a reason why, and these are sequential steps. So there's a reason why you want to do that will make more sense later. So you're doing that, you're lowering your burn. Now there's really two categories of expenses on our books. There's kind of the larger fixed expenses, and then there's some more variable or choice expenses. So the more fixed expenses, the higher expenses for many are, if you're a broker, you might have bricks and mortar like rent. So that would be a big expense. If you're working out of your house, not so much, but and maybe for a lot, like my business, I've had a lot of payroll, and I had people on my books, I had roles on my books to help me in that growth strategy. Unfortunately, the roles had to go that weren't attached to survival, because once I wasn't in a growth strategy anymore, those roles were a big burning of cash. And so I had to pull those out. And it's like instantaneous. This is an instantaneous business response as business owners when you notice you can't predict revenue. So that's what you do. When the first exercise is you go through every single expense and you get rid of what's not a survival expense. Then you go through all those business expenses again. And the next question you ask is, what's left on there? Is this expense negotiable? So rent, for example, it might be like going to the landlord and saying, hey, my cash flow just that faucet just turned off. I probably need 90 days to figure this out. Can you work with me on the rent a little bit? And, just to have that conversation for the landlord. It might be a time to renegotiate payroll, or sometimes payroll has to go in these decisions. And it's just looking for, how do I reduce that burn as much as possible? One of my clients, for example, she's in the med spa business. She was shut down. I think she's opened it up a little bit this week, which is nice. But we were looking at things, and so we negotiated her rent, and we negotiated some of her payroll. She just put some of them more on commission based versus salary or fixed rate to help preserve that cash. And another thing we found on our books, once I looked, I said, Devin, like, what's this expense? She said, oh, I have these laser machines. They're 100 grand a pop, and they're financed. So I said, oh, well, let's go negotiate the terms on those to see if we can negotiate the terms on that equipment. And so we got her down from like a 15% fixed to like a 5.5. So that what that is all of that's lowering her burn rate. So you just go through, is it essential? Yes or no? No, get rid of it. And if it's negotiable, try to negotiate. Negotiate everything right now. This is a really good exercise. I'm always, with my personal coaching clients, I say this is an exercise we should probably do once a year anyway, is look at to see if things are negotiable, but now is a really great time because most banks or finance companies are willing to negotiate. In January, February, they would have laughed at Devin for trying to negotiate. Now they would rather have some money as opposed to no money. So again, the exercise on our business books is to just lower the burn. So let's say we took our burn rate from 20,000 to 10,000 a month. So we're burning $10,000 less a month cash for however long we're going to be in this survival strategy. Now, the next thing we want to do that exact same exercise in your household. You go through all your household expenses and you do the same thing. Is this expense that we've been spending for the last period of time, is it essential to our household financial survival? And same thing, you're just going to look and try to reduce that burn. It's burning cash. Again, you don't even include paying yourself in this. This is just the operational expenses of running your business and running your household. Go through the same exercise in your household. Typically, the biggest kind of fixed expenses are rent or mortgage, any kind of car payments or debt payments that you're making, and just going through. So maybe it's a great time to refinance the mortgage. Interest rates are pretty low right now. Don't wait, because if people are the long line, that you'll be in the back of the line and it could take months to get just a simple refinance. But it might be time, like how do we reduce the burn? How do we reduce the rent? Like whatever that case may be. Now's the time. Some of my clients, I didn't even know you can renegotiate the terms on your car loan. And my clients have been negotiating car loans and rates. So just go through, remove anything that's not essential and try to negotiate everything else. Negotiate insurance, negotiate anything. Just get on the phone and make these calls if you haven't already done it, with the goal, the intention that how low can I get my burn? And make it a challenge, make it a fun. We've gamified a lot of this, is that sometimes that natural inclination is like, well, I don't want to lower expenses, or I don't want to do this. It feels bad. And remember, it's just for a short period of time, maybe 90 days. We don't know, but we can do anything for 90 days or 180 days. And we're just doing it. Like, let's, even as a family, let's just make it a fun. Let's just see, for the fun of it, how low can we get our expenses? What can we live without? Because we can always add these things back on. And just look at these things. So like in my business, I've really negotiated and worked with my personal clients to lower those higher fixed burn rates. And then we're looking at, so personally, in my business, in my wealthy business, for example, I looked at things like, I had a lot of software and technology, and I would have some technologies that were a little bit the same, but a little bit different. So since the business had a lot of the surplus in that, I had like one technology called BeLive for one type of video, and I had another one, Zoom, for another type of conversation. I used Skype for podcasting and for a very specific other type. They all could do the same thing, but I like the differences for you doing them for different things. But when I went through my books, it's like, I don't need 3 of these kind of similar technologies. I'm just going to choose one. So those were things. It's just making that and shrinking wherever possible. On our household, the same thing. We might be like, we have Hulu and we have Netflix and we have Amazon Prime, we have cable and we have ESPN, something that we're paid for. Not that we can really watch that many sports right now anyway, but it'd be the time like, okay, what's maybe just one? With the enrichment and growth maybe mindset built in, is like, and this could be a time for less screen time versus more. Even if we're quarantined, how about we practice less screen time? Let's get rid of a lot of these things that have just been conducive to being a lot on screen. That's more entertainment and maybe not education. So it's just looking through that and go through every single one and just looking for places to either remove or negotiate every single line item expense. And it's a really great exercise anyway, but it can be really revealing to see like, wow, we spent a lot, we maybe our spending got a little bit out of control, because there's something called Parkinson's law that says expenses will always rise to match income. So what that means, in our business, in our household, the more money we make, that expense creep happens. Those extra pounds come on. That's why I don't do cruises. If I'm on a cruise, I know it's a guaranteed 5 pounds that I have to work hard to get off later, because there's just too much food laying around. I'm pretty disciplined and pretty healthy with my food, but I can just snack and grab all day long. And next thing is there's those pounds. So we put on a little extra weight. financial weight when times are good. So now we just want to drop the weight. We want to be mobile, we want to be lean, and we want to be mean so that we can really navigate this as much as possible. If we had someone that was obese and they really had to use their body to get out of the swamp, like agile and mobile and that type of thing, they're probably going to be a lot more at risk than somebody that is lean and is mobile and flexible and physically conditioned. So we want to drop that weight, and we want to be as financially, fiscally conditioned and mobile as possible as we're getting out of the swamp, out of the storm that is a little precarious right now. So that's the first thing to do, is to really look at that burn and really get connected to our spending, really get connected to the outflow of where our money is going. So that's one, Amber. Is there anything you wanted to add, or did you want to do a little
Hey, and I'm back. I'm feverishly taking notes alongside you. And what I think is so important with this is we don't know how long this is going to last, right? And so, yes, like while so many people on the call, we are so blessed that real estate is still strong and there is still a healthy real estate market for us. The truth is, though, is that we would be naive if we just expected things to be fine in a couple of months. And so, while the storm is kind of, calming and we're all settling in, if we haven't done this yet, we do need to do this because there is uncertainty ahead, right? And, is it going to be in the fall? Is it going to happen? Is that? Travel's not going to come back for 3 to 4 years. Like, there's just this ripple effect that we're really not sure of. So I think it would be a false sense of security for all of us just to look at the fact that we have multiple offers still coming in and so forth, and not really just look at the big picture here. And so, I appreciate that perspective and have been taking some great notes. So awesome. Well, I know you have a lot more to come back to us with, so I'm going to let you take a little break, and would love to welcome from Chesmar Homes, Patricia Duplessis. And I do hope I said that right, because it's a beautiful name that I would hate to butcher. So Patricia Duplessis and Rachel Bain are both sales counselors with Chesmar. So hey, ladies, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Amber. Thanks for having us on.
Good morning. So good morning, everybody. I'm Patricia Duplessis, and I am so honored to be chatting to all of you this morning. As you know, at Chesmar, we just love working with realtors, so it's great to get to chat to you. I'm the new home consultant at Water Oak at St. Gabriel in Georgetown. And Chesmar is exceptionally proud of the fact that we recently self-developed the new section, and it turned out so gorgeous. We have got home sites that have got views that just carry on forever. Absolutely spectacular. But probably the most exciting part for Water Oak is that we eventually are building a swimming pool and an amenity center, and that's going to start any day now. And I feel like that's going to make Water Oak absolutely perfect and the place to live in Georgetown. So Chesmar has various offerings all over the greater Austin area, and I guarantee you that your clients will just love our process, our transparency, and our offering. And I would love for you, if you drive past a Chesmar model home, to just pop in, come have a cup of coffee, and get to know us. I now want to just hand over to Rachel Bain, and she can tell you a little bit about her community.
Hey guys, thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Amber and Ashton and Kelly, for having us on. PT50 is just so wonderful to work with. And yes, I just kind of shadow what Patricia said. Patricia, I do have a knock knock joke for you.
Great, I'm waiting.
All right, knock knock.
Who's there?
Everybody, Patricia, everybody's there. Everybody's home. We can't leave. We're stuck. But if you're stuck, why not be stuck in a beautiful Chesmar home?
Amen.
Hey, yeah. So guys, come on down. I mean, like Patricia said, we got all over the greater Austin area. I'm in Rancho Siena, in Georgetown. We've got Palmera Ridge up the road in Leander, Bryson, Saddle Creek in Georgetown. We've got Sorrento, we opened in Pflugerville. We've got Sunfield in Buda. We've got Sweetwater and Bee Cave. So we've really got it all. So we would love to have you. We've got our design center on site, so it'd be easy. You know, we can keep it minimal and just keep it a really nice, smooth process for you guys. So yeah, we'll turn it back over to you, Amber, when you get a chance.
I'm here, Rachel. I was ready to answer that knock knock joke, just so you know. I thought you were sending it my way, but Patricia sounded better answering it. So awesome. And guys, the follow-up email we send you, we'll make sure that we link you to all the Chesmar communities and know that they are fully capable of handling all of your transactions virtually, and how nice to have that design center on site as well. So awesome. Well, thank you, Chesmar. Much love, and thank y'all for your continued support of Platinum Top 50 through this time. All right, John, are you there? Oh, even better, with a little flair. So love that. Well, John, what great message do you have to share with us this morning?
Hey, good morning, and great first half there by Krisstina. Thank you very much for that. I know a lot of the folks I've seen on the list here who've registered today, but a lot that don't. So I'm going to give you a short background on my background in terms of, and our company's background. So I've been in the real estate business in Central Texas for over 20 years now, in all different varieties, on the attorney side, title side, lender, agent, and developer. And of course, hearing Krisstina talk about her investments and things over the past, her career. I own, of course, primary residence, investment properties, short-term rentals, commercial, and other types of properties. And I bring that experience both personally and professionally into the way we practice law here in the office. We are a solutions company. We focus on dealing with people on how to solve the problem, not creating more problem or more drama. We deal with a lot of high net worth or private people who often look for that solution and to try to not get things overly dramatic. Over the past 20 years, I've bought and sold more than 50 properties myself, just in simple math. And in the firm, our representative clients are all varieties of real estate and business pertinent real estate items. So people who are developing things, doing condo regimes, buyers and sellers who may want more complicated contracts reviewed or drafted, things put in place like that. Boundary line agreements, title curative things, things like that. We do a ton of that where we work with people who own or finance documents, small lenders, things like that as well. We focus on strategy of negotiation and, again, solutions. It is, as a deals guy, it's how I see myself, someone who is focused on how to get something completed, not just, one part of the deal. How do we get to where we're going? That's an important part of what we bring in. And then, of course, we are a fee attorney for Independence Title, have been for about 8 years. Just kind of looking back through the last 2 years, we've done more than 2,200 transactions in our office. That is across 30 counties over the past year, and where we did in that process as well, Independence is licensed in 39 counties, and we touch all of that. 8 underwriters that we work with, 4 escrow officers in our office, and we've kept our entire team on staff and fully ingrained in what we're doing through COVID, with measures that we took prior even to the stay-at-home order to really have the safety of the customers, the safety of our staff in place. Lastly, important thing to talk about is I'm going to give one quick piece of legal advice, free legal advice. If you have clients or you're considering a forbearance situation, please review what that does. That can adversely affect any loan you may try to do over the next 12 months, no matter if you've completed forbearance or not. So please seek advice beyond the servicing department where you're calling. Very important thing. I've seen a lot of calls on that in the last few weeks with people who took forbearance, now are trying to refinance and they cannot, period. Like there's not a way out. And lastly, a week from now at 10 a.m., we have a great class we're going to be offering, attorney roundtable with some questions that we've already got in on that. limited number of seats. Want y'all to see that, as well as there will be a lot of do's and don'ts and war stories through everything. So appreciate the awesome words this morning. Amber, thanks for having us. Krisstina, great work. Look forward to hearing the rest of it.
John, you just confirmed. I didn't think free legal advice was available. I didn't think that was a thing.
Well, that was Tizo got me excited about that.
Okay, all right. You're just feeling generous, right? Because we're talking
right.
about spreading the wealth and so forth.
Right.
Well, we appreciate the partnership and your knowledge and expertise, and certainly the boutique shop that you are has a lot of flexibility for our realtors. So we're grateful to welcome you in and look forward to being a part of that class next week as well. So thanks so much. All right, Krisstina. So I've got my notes. I have reduced my burn rate, right? I've looked at my expenses. Well, first, let's be honest. First, I have identified my burn rates. And then from there, go look to reduce it. And so I would love for you to walk us through what some of the next things that we can do to maintain our financial immunity.
Awesome. All right. Well, and I love what your follow-up was there, that if things just bounce back or nothing changes, we're in great shape. We just want the lifeboats just in case. If the ship doesn't go down, we can get back on the ship. But if it does go down, or if it's not repairable or something happens, we just want to be in the best shape possible to be able to navigate the uncertainty that is ahead. And there are certain numbers. I mean, we know that if there's an unemployment rate of 32 million right now, that these are real numbers that have a ripple effect. Will it affect us in Central Texas the way? I don't know, but I just want to be as prepared as possible. And, and then you can always add right back in. So this is where, remember, we're just building immunity. Even in the household, we probably didn't need as much toilet paper as we thought we needed, but we had it just in case, in the worst case scenario. So thank you for your comment there.
Awesome. Hey, if you want to turn your video on, I'm missing your bright, shiny face. If not, that works too, but just thought I'd let you know that audio is on and video isn't.
Let me put my video back on. Here we go. All right, so there I am.
We're
All
back.
right, so that's the first thing we're doing. And by the way, a big thing that, during this time is part of the pivot. It is the pivoting piece. It's the reinvention. Some of what I share with a lot of my clients outside of the real estate industry is to think of yourself as a startup. I've been a startup business consultant for a big part of my career, especially real estate technology startups, a big part. And so in that startup community, the great thing about a startup is you don't know anything. You have a great idea, you're passionate, you're optimistic, but you're not generating your revenue. Your new idea isn't proven yet. But so you're going this with a lot of unknown. And so we have this pivot startup mindset. It opens up this whole space to look at things differently. When I pivoted my wealthy business, it's been super exciting because what was working really well. So there was no reason to have to want to change it. And what even COVID has done is caused me to reinvent or rethink my business model in a way that now, the business model I created out of COVID is actually much better business model that I'll hold on long term. But it's just all right, I'm in startup. Let's pretend that, I'm a brand new business. What would I do? So a lot of this is just going into this and that part of that pivot. And so John, part of the even, as pivoting is what new relationships, maybe again, I was too busy. I wasn't seeking new relationships. Maybe there's new opportunity or new things to learn or know or new relationships to create during this time. So John, I would love to get together with you and meet you and learn more about you, your business and what you're doing during this, this time. So what a great opportunity to meet new people, for example. So, all right, so we've lowered our burn. Now the second thing is that I teach is stock up on cash, not just toilet paper. So our cash is our toilet paper. Our cash is our water. And so when in times of, again, financial correction, financial uncertainty, when we can't really predict revenue, too many things are out of our control. And the data is kind of telling a story that it could go, revenue could go in the wrong direction or the opposite direction of where it's been going. So that's what cash is for. When I teach money, when I'm teaching and coaching money, those that take my programming and those that work with me, I'm always saying one of the words that nobody talks about is cash, liquidity. And cash is really important. It's important for two reasons. We want to have cash and preserve cash and have cash on hand for these two reasons. One is emergencies. For many, we're in an emergency situation. We know restaurant owners. I know gym owners. I know med spa owners. I know those that their businesses have been shut down for the last however many, I'm in a time warp. I don't even know how many weeks we've been in this now. So their businesses were totally shut down. So it's really the cash that's the preservation. It's the lifeboat. It's the life vest. It's the what's thrown in the water to keep us, keep us afloat. So cash is king right now. Cash is king for emergencies to help us with what's called, write this word down, runway. So you know your burn rate, your old burn rate, your new burn rates, both, we know it both in our business and our household, and we even add those together. And now we want to know our runway. Your runway is how many months or how many days, but let's say how many days of cash do you have, assuming no revenue in your business and no income in your household. How much runway do you have? That's cash. For the emergency situation, the lifeboat. Cash is the lifeboat. Cash is the water. So if you're in your business, the reason why we lowered the burn rate is if we went from 20 to 10, $20,000 a month burn in our business down to 10, and let's say we had $20,000 cash sitting in our business account, we went from 30 days runway to 60 days runway. We just bought ourselves another 30 days. Now imagine the nervous system. If you have less than 30 days cash, then let's pretend the revenue faucet's been, commission faucet's just been turned off, like we were like the restaurant business or the gym business right now. That how much better do you feel just anxiety wise if you have 60 days to kind of pivot and work things out as opposed to less than 30. So the cash is peace of mind. And so what we want to do, we've lowered our burn to buy us more runway. So how much runway do you have in your business? Again, the assumption right now is no revenue. So how much? How long can you last with that current burn? We went from 30 to 60 just by lowering it. So now we're looking at things. Is there ways to get more cash? Because cash is more peace of mind for the emergency. And then that becomes the opportunity later on, if, depending on how much cash is left after the emergency situation, the survival. So that's why, I don't know, like I applied for the EIDL, I applied for the PPP, that money just landed in my account. It was really nice, actually. I've never had a kind of quote unquote a handout in my entire life. I'm not even quite sure how I feel about it because it's just never, it's a new for me. But that money is more cash, it's more peace of mind. And the cash is sitting there that's going to cover during time of, revenue, especially in real estate, my real estate investment cash flow that's turned off. And even my wealthy business, that will allow me to keep my staff. It'll allow me to keep my rents and my different things going. So without burning through my quote unquote emergency fund, that was just the cash. So I'm able to have more cash to make better decisions. So that's why I think even, from a political government, it's like we have to keep people to work. We need to make sure businesses have cash. So with no cash, no work, no cash, no business, assuming if the assumption is revenue has really been dialed down. So that's cash, and that's in our business. So where that might be access, what's your current runway? We've just doubled our runway, and is there a way to extend it even longer, another 30 days or so, by having more cash available to us? Cash gives us more space, more time, if you will. So depending on how much water we have in the lifeboat, if we have water for 30 days and it takes us 40 days to hit land, we're dead because we only had 30 days of water. But if we had 60 days of water and it only took us 40 days, then we had plenty of water. So we just want enough water in the boat. Now on our household, we want to do the same thing. How much runway do you have in your household? Meaning assuming no income right now, how long can you last? That's that emergency fund. That's that liquidity. That's having access to be able to pay your bills, even though there's no money coming in. Again, think of the nervous system. Wow, okay, if I have, let's say our household burn rate was 10,000 and we just reduced it to 5,000. So, and let's say we had $10,000 emergency fund or cash sitting in our household account. Well, same thing. By lowering our burn, we went from 30 to 60 days. We're just being uber conservative. Again, we can always add back later. We just want to get to the most lean, conservative, realistic place possible to give us more wiggle room. So that more time, more water in the lifeboat. Hopefully, maybe we won't need any of the water, better yet, but we want it in case we need it. So that's where working with a lot of my personal clients, we've been looking at, is it time for a cash out refi? That's money that might be sitting there. If we have less than 82% of Americans have less than 30 days of emergency funds sitting there. So now's the time. Maybe we can pull cash out of a refi. If it's a HELOC, that's a line of credit. I pulled money out of my cash value of my life insurance policy to have that cash sitting there. Cash is peace of mind, and cash is time to pivot, to think, to get a new strategy, to write it out, whatever the case is. So you want to know your burn rate and your runway, like how long can you last to cover those key essential expenses, business and household, assuming the revenue and income completely turns off for a short period of time. So that's the runway. And you're just looking at anything, any opportunities for cash that may be there. But the kind of takeaway is cash is king, cash is king, cash is king. And so cash is there to help us as that emergency water. Now let's pretend we have lots of water left over. Now we hit land, and those that have water, that becomes the opportunity money. That becomes the money that buy low, sell high. As an investor, that's my motto. I haven't really been buying real estate lately in Austin, Texas, because prices, I can't cash flow it. If the economy does shift and correct and prices do go down, then that cash that's sitting there, that's left over from the emergency, hopefully there's plenty, that becomes my opportunity fund. Now I get to buy again. Now I get to take advantage of, some deals that haven't been around for a long time. And then I can use Dawn to help me, close those deals. So, because I love deals, I love making deals, and I love good deals. And so that's a wealth building, that's an investor mindset. It's a wealth building mindset, is buy low, buy in corrections. And so that you can only do that if you have cash. And that's what's not taught in kind of wealth. And people are so focused on making more money, they're not thinking about, how do I grow my wealth? And you grow your wealth through this one word called cash. It's very difficult to build wealth if you don't have cash to be able to buy assets, some form of asset or some form of investment. So that's why cash is really important. And even if I can borrow right now at a 3.5% to 4%, and that cash is sitting there and I'm paying a little bit money on that debt, it's like startup capital, if you will. Startup, you have to have capital. I teach startup capital all the time, and I help people develop how much startup capital do I need to launch my business. So I'm looking at this as this borrowed startup capital that may be emergency, but if I don't have to use it for emergency, if I can convert that 4% borrow into an 8 or 12 or 20, which is historically, 8 would be a minimum, but I'm always investing for double digits. At a minimum, I can turn that 4 to a 10 or a 12, which has been my historical percentage. It's kind of a baseline bottom. So that's where wealth is built ultimately. Now, we're not looking to build wealth yet. We're just looking for the cash to survive. And those that survive and have that water left over, then there may be some opportunities to be able to turn that cash into wealth. So that's knowing your runway and building that emergency fund / opportunity fund. But right now we care about emergency. Just how long can we last? We need to hit shore, assuming that Titanic is sinking. So we want to make sure we're on the lifeboat and we have enough water. So that's the second thing. Now the third thing, the third data point, if you will, is in know your numbers, know your metrics, your KPIs, we call them in business. But your financial KPIs, your burn rate, your runway, and these are startup terms. And then the third one is run rate. And run rate basically is projection. So we're projecting, and there's different run rates, but we're talking about income run rate. So we're looking at revenue or commissions, your GCI, or GCI / after cost of sales, which would be after paying broker, whatever you do, but the money you would normally keep in your business after you take everything off the top. But you're looking at what your run rate has been, and then predict what it's going to be. So for example, in my business, let's say for January and February, when I looked at my run rate, my revenue run rate, top line run rate for my business, let's say Wealthy for 2019, when I started doing my projections and cash flow projections, my business projections for 2020, I was looking at historical data as far as, okay, I've been growing at like a 10% month over month. doing business as I'm doing. So I can probably predict a 10% month over month run rate. So if I project out to the end of 2020 or 6 months into 2020, I can see where my revenue is going to be. And if I even want to amp that up, I'm going to make investments now that might take that to a 10 to a 20 strategically. This is business strategy. So that's been my run rate. And I make business decisions based on running out my revenue based on historical data, historical results. So now once COVID hit and I'm doing all these things that I'm teaching to get now out of growth strategy, scale strategy to survival, stability strategy, I'm looking at some revenue was just cut off. Like I said, Airbnb business gone. So that was that business. And my other business, I have a few different businesses, but I'm looking at, okay, I don't think my run rate's going to be 10% month over month. In fact, it's probably going to go backwards a little bit till I pivot and I'm able to rebuild everything differently according to the times we're in now. So now what if I predict that my run rate is actually 80% of what it was? What does that look like? Or 0 or 10 or 50? But it's making projections. Your run rate is projected revenue in your business. So we're not looking at money that's already in the pipeline now, because those deals are already in the making. But just your own sensibility on your business, what you're noticing in your market, with your clientele, what data's around you, what type of predictions for revenue or commissions, meaning sales, can you make for the next 30 days and go 90 days out, 90 days to 6 months? We can't really go more than that because things are shifting too fast. We don't have enough data. But what type of revenue are you projecting? So we got our burn rate down from 20 to 10. We were assuming no income, no revenue. Now we can add back our revenue in. So if you're projecting, let's say you're projecting, man, I'm just going to project no revenue after these deals close for the next 90 days. That means I have 2 months of runway. So here's the goal. The survival strategy goal is just to hit the burn rate. So your business strategy becomes, how many houses do I have to sell? How many deals do I need to close to cover my $10,000 a month burn? That's the goal. It's not profitability, it's not growth, it's not anything else. I just need to cover my burn. That's assuming I'm even paying myself right now, but that's just to keep business going, all the technology, all the operations. If we have staff, whatever we think we need to keep, that becomes how many deals, what do I need to do to cover the burn rate? Is it 1 deal? Is it 2 deals? Can I predict that? Am I pretty certain that I can close those deals? Maybe I can only do 5,000. I can only predict 5,000 a month right now. So that means I'm at -5 a month, but I'm not -10. So that means now I just doubled that runway again because I have some income I can add on, but I'm still a little bit in the red. So this is just knowing your numbers. When you know your numbers, it just gives you, with the knowledge, with the real data, with the real information, it really helps the psychology and the fear, because we're smart, we're entrepreneurs, we're realtors, we're brokers. This is what we do. We're built for this. So when you know what you're working with, when you have a map and this, you know you're going to get out of the swamp. It's just going to take a little time. And that's what reduces that anxiety, and that it brings a little bit of certainty back into this. So that's why knowing your money, knowing your numbers, knowing these KPIs is really critical right now. It helps the nervous system, and it gets us out of Pollyanna, and it gets us out of pessimism. It gets us to just here's the real information with the best information I have to date, the best data I have to date, and how well I know my business and my ability to make some projections. So that's what we're doing in our business, is on the revenue side, the commission side. And now we want to do that same thing in our household. We got our burn rate down to $5,000 in our household in this example. So now it's like, okay, and I know I have 2 months of runway in my household. So I have two months. Now if we assume we covered our $10,000 burn in our business by 1 deal a month, now that went from 5 deals to 1 deal or whatever it was. Now if my burn rate in my household is 5,000, now I can even go on. It's like I've got 2 months of emergency to repivot and figure everything out. If I burn through that, maybe you've gotten more, extended it by refining or getting some more cash in the account, whatever we do. With remembering, if we borrow, we do have to pay that out of future earnings, just a little caveat there. But again, this is startup capital. It's an investment we're making to make more money later on and to keep the business afloat with that capital. But now if that $5,000 in our household, we can add that back on in the business side and say, okay, my total burn between my business and household is $15,000 a month. So that means, I just have to earn in my business, whatever my business strategy is right now, to just make $15,000 a month. with the goal right now in the survival strategy is just to make land. It's just to have enough water. It's just to do all, all these things just to survive and be stable, where we're confident we're going to make it through this time of uncertainty. And there's no growth built in. There's nothing else. Some businesses are big growth, but this is for everybody that's not in the toilet paper business or the Zoom business or the Amazon business or the mask business. They're doing just fine right now, but it's just looking at, okay, there's my business strategy with the goal right now is just break even. It's just to be right there at the razor's edge of the red and the black, just net zero. And as long as we're net zero, we can carry this out as long as this lasts. If it's 3 months, great. If it's a year, great. In 2008, it was 2 years of really just working to stay in there until things started changing. It's a great buy-in opportunity. And then we built, and here we are all these years later. So that's called your run rate, and knowing and it's the projections, it's the predictive. You're making some predictive along with the goal of covering the burn and knowing those numbers and building a business strategy, your pivot strategy or business strategy, or bringing in side income or whatever that is. Maybe it's a great time for a side gig or whatever it is. It's like, what do I need to do income wise? Business strategy to produce income in my business. Second, whatever it is, just to cover that new burn. And so these are the 3 metrics. I'm going to stop here and we'll open it up to questions. But to complete, our mindset now is really important. Just again, it's not Pollyanna, it's not pessimism, it's just realism with optimism built in. We want to know our burn rate and lower it, getting down to those key essentials, both household and business. We want to know our runway and extend it if we can. And then we want to know our run rate and add that on and just get to this net zero to ride us out until we get to shore.
Awesome. So, hey guys, you can chat through the Q&A. So send it to me, but I have a question for you, Krisstina. So, you talk about the opportunity fund, and, I think there's probably people out there like me that's like, okay, right, we have gotten to the island, so to speak. I think back to your analogy, we haven't sunk, right? And I'm looking at it going, okay, what opportunity do I chase, right? Like if there is wealth accumulation to be had, if there's market share to be gained, if there's opportunities to pursue, how do I know when is the right time to reinvest in the business, or do I need to hold on to that cash as a lifesaver if I need it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And in the business side, again, everything's a personal call. Personally, I just don't think I know enough yet. So I'm just holding still. I just make sure at the bottom line, I'm at my net zero. And I just know I can ride this out forever, as long as it lasts, until I'm like, all right, now I have cash. Now I see business opportunity. I can see the lane. So now I'm going to reinvest and I'm going to go after that. So the second you can see it, then go for it. But don't guess. Like it's not like we don't want to gamble and just like, oh, things are lower, so I'm just going to throw money on the the blackjack table. So, but yeah, you just have it there. So then it's like, all right, now is a good time for market share. This is played out. I can see it. I feel confident. Now I'm going to make those moves. So it's like a chess player. Chess player waits, looks at the board, watch the other move, might take a minute, and then making the next move. But it's very thoughtful. It's not just like, oh, now's a good time to make a move. And then even on like the more personal investment side, people have said, is it a great time to invest? Again, it depends. And a lot of people make great money on Amazon lately. They went in and made some quick moves. For me as a real estate investor, I just don't have enough information yet. So I really want to watch the market. I want to see things, and then I'll have my cash. And then when I'm confident, I'm like, all right, my intuition and my experience now is in business as an investor for me says, all right, I'm ready to make a move now.
We had a great Vistage CEO coach on a recent webinar, and he walked us through some steps. And one of the things he said is eventually you'll get to a place where you're testing and exploring, right? Like testing new lines of business, testing new marketing things or new technologies. You're exploring new ways of doing business. And then it comes to a phase where you reinvest into the business, reinvest into your people. And through that testing and exploring, you will then be able to know where you feel comfortable kind of doubling down, so to speak. And I thought that was, pretty solid advice. This is testing and exploring for us. We've never treaded in the digital workshop, online event space. Like that came out of sink or swim survival, but we are testing and exploring that. And now we're looking to maybe invest in some new technology or new platforms that can take our capabilities up to increase engagement. So I, was grateful for that advice and feel like that's probably pretty timely. And I guess what you're saying is that it's really just a personal decision.
Yeah, and that's what I'm calling in the pivot. So that's if anybody, if they want all 10 action, like the full map of to get out of the swamp, it's financiallyimmune.com, and I go through all 10 steps. And one of those is the pivot. And the pivot's the testing, meaning this is a startup. Whereas we're a startup, another metaphor I've given is like, pretend like you woke up today, you have complete amnesia. You have all your skill set, you have your intellect, you have your embodied knowledge, you have your passion, you have everything. But you woke up, you can't remember what your business used to be. You can't remember how you charged money. You can't remember anything. So all you can do from this moment forward is look at the landscape and start trying new things and see what works. And so that's the pivot startup mentality. When you're a startup, you have a great idea, but you don't know what the audience is. You don't know exactly what they're going to pay for it. You don't know these things. So you're testing until you hit it. So that's the same thing. But so in this pivot phase, you're pivoting. You're like, okay, we used to do live events and this whole thing. So how do we pivot the business to be an online? And maybe we don't even charge for it now where we used to charge, but what maybe my clients used to pay X, maybe now they pay Y. So we're testing these things. So that's why we want that runway to give us time to test. I like that. While we're trying to pivot the business either temporarily, or it might become the new business model later on. Like, whoa, I never would have thought we could have done so well online. How great is this? Now we know more. We've tested this, so let's reinvest in these things. Is going to be able to amp up this new space that we're in that never would have even hit our imagination had we not been forced to be creative. So yeah, that's part of the pivot.
I love that. Well, remind me, how does everyone get access to your download, or how do they connect with you for the 10 tips, the full kind of the big presentation that we were only able to take a bite of today?
It's called financiallyimmune.com, and it's a PDF. It's just a free download that has all 10 steps with an explanation. These first ones are most crucial. Everything's sequential too. Do this first, do this second, do this third, do this fourth, do fifth. So they all build on each other. And the sequence of the steps is really important because it's like, okay, if it's out of order, it might not work well. I mean, if we, so go through the steps, and it's just a guide, it's just a map. And once you go through that, you're going to feel as confident as, you've done everything you can do right now to give us time and see what's ahead. And I'll close with the final metaphor that I've been using. It's like, we've been on Earth for a long time, so we're habitualized, and we know how Earth works and everything. Now all of a sudden we landed on Mars. So we're going to thrive on Mars. We're going to just be fine, but there's this learning curve. There's a whole new environment. So we have to test things. What worked on Earth may or may not work on planet Mars. Some will, some won't. And so we're just here in this adventurous spirit, and it's like game on. And we all were built for this. So we're going to be just fine, but we want to be as healthy as possible when we land on Mars. We don't want to be unhealthy, and we don't want to be out of shape. We want to be able to navigate the new terrain until we know it well enough that then it's like, it's the new Earth.
Well, and I think what you're saying too, and what I'm taking, it's like, so you land on Mars and you want to be able to go and like test and explore new things. But the only way that you can do that confidently is if you have cash, because cash is queen, right? And so, so it's like, then you can go out with confidence, say, oh, that kind of worked. Let me go this way. And you're not panicking through this because you have built that reserve to go out and do that with confidence. So that's great advice too. Well, we will be sure to include in our follow-up email to all of our participants links to get over to Financial Immunity. We will include links to connect with Krisstina, information on the, I call it Ask Your Lawyer, but that's not the lawyer roundtable that John mentioned, and ways to connect with Chesmar Homes also. So you guys, we are so appreciative of just the continued support that we continue to get. Please keep the positive feedbacks coming our way, and let us know what kind of programming you're interested in. So we appreciate all of you so much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our partners. And Krisstina, thanks for your time this morning too.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. Great seeing you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.